Welcome to a new episode of English for First Secondary. أهلا بكم في حلقة جديدة مع مادة اللغة الإنجليزية للصف الأول الثانوي. Today we're going to revise the 3 units that we have covered since the beginning of term 2. Let's have a look together at what they are and let's remember what was covered in each unit. Looking at the screen, we're going to find out that we had the first unit was unit 7 and it was called health and safety. If we remember together, it talked about all we should do to stay healthy. We talked about first aid, emergency services, and how to perform CPR. And we've also spoken about hygiene at home, the do's and the don'ts of the things that should happen in your own house. Moving to Unit 8, it was called Robots, and it talked about all new technology that could be used these days. We talked about the new technology, the use of internet, hybrid cars, a lot of other things related to technology and usage of the internet. And the last one was called A Good Education, and it talked thoroughly about the writer Charlotte Bronte when we talked about one of her books, the most famous book that she had written, which was called Jane Eyre. We took the meaning of governess and a lot of other words related to the age and schools at that time. We've also spoken about good education and we've spoken about how to give certain opinions, how to agree and disagree with things. Now, we're going to answer together questions related to the 3 units and we're going to start with the vocabulary. Looking at the screen, here we have choose the correct words to complete the sentences. In order to answer this correctly, you have to make sure that you read all the options, all the choices, and then you decide which one is the correct one. Let's have a look. Number 1, Omar has a new on his smartphone to understand foreign languages. So he has what on his phone? To understand languages. The choices are chat, app. App is a short form of what? It's a short form of application, internet, and click. So what can I use here? Omar has a new on his smartphone. Can I have a new chat? I cannot. And what do I use if I want to understand other languages? I go on the store, and what do I download? Of course, I download an app. Number 2, in the future, we will have the space to travel to space on our holidays. So we will have what? The technology, the invention, the internet, or the robot. So technology in Arabic, teknolojia, invention, we've mentioned that before, means اختراع. So, and then we have internet and robot. So which choice here is possible? In the future, we will have the space to travel. What will we have in order to be able to travel to somewhere else, and not only somewhere else, but to space? So it has to be, of course, I cannot say invention. So it has to be technology. Moving to number 3. The students answered all the questions in the and then check their scores. So you need to answer the questions in the what? In the feedback. Feedback is when someone gives you his opinion regarding something that you've done. Invention, again, اختراع, quiz, or a computer. So what's the answer here? You need to answer questions where, of course, it's in a quiz. Number 4. My dad uses if he doesn't know which road to take. So I want to go somewhere, I don't know the way. What do I use? Vehicle? Vehicles are things that move on wheels. So can I say my dad uses vehicles, more than one vehicle? App, short form of application. Translation in Arabic, when you translate from one language to another in Arabic, means tarjama, or GPS, global positioning system, and we all know it. So what do I use? Of course it is GPS, and we use something called Google Maps these days. Everybody uses Google Maps these days. So if you want to go from somewhere to another and you don't know the way, what do I use? I use GPS, of course. Moving to number 5. I have a bad cold, so it is difficult for me too. You have a bad cold, عندي برد, so it's difficult for you to do what? To breathe, to research, to wash, or to respond. Respond means to answer back. So how is it difficult? It's difficult to do what? Of course, to breathe. And the noun of breathe is breath. Number 6. We should always put our plastic rubbish in a separate wrap, bin, dust, or floor. Wrap, when you wrap something, when you fold something. Bin, what you put the rubbish in. And then dust, the particles, small particles. And then floor, we know the floor. So what do I put the rubbish in? I have to separate the rubbish and put it in a separate what? Of course, it has to be bin. Number 7. Fortunately. Fortunately means luckily. The police could space the mystery and catch the criminal. Mystery, اللغز. So what could the police do? Solve the mystery, make, find, or do. With the word mystery, what did I say? Of course, it has to be solve. In Arabic means يحل. It is very easy to around that city because the public transport is cheap and efficient. It is easy to do what? Get around, find around, stay around, or say around. We've taken this in the phrases or the preposition. So which verb goes with the preposition around? Of course, it has to be get around. Get around means to move somewhere. Number 9, there was an emergency, so the school was. Emergency means حالة طارئة. So the school was serviced, navigated, evacuated, or injured. So here navigate means to move, know how to move from one place to another. Evacuate means to empty and very quickly because there is a what? An emergency. And then injured means hurt. So there was an emergency, so the school was. What can I use here? Of course, it has to be evacuated. And here, with the word evacuated and navigated, serviced, I need you to have a look here. It says the school was. Which form is it? It is, it's the passive form because the school is the object, was, evacuated. So verb to be, past participle. Bacteria in warm, wet places like a kitchen sponge. So bacteria plants, makes, grows, or soil. What's the possible answer here? Of course, it has to be grows, بتنمو in Arabic. And then I need you to have a look at the last word. We pronounce it sponge, not sponge. Okay? So you pronounce the O as if it's a U, sponge. Number 11, my friend was given by a medical doctor to save his life. Save his life, ينقذ حياته. So CPR, okay, hybrid, DVD, or aid. Aid, remember aid, the first aid, but here I cannot say aid because aid alone means to help. DVD, hybrid, remember when we said hybrid, it's put with fuel or it moves with electricity. This is hybrid. And then we have CPR. What is CPR? CPR is how to perform the breathing on someone. So what is it? My friend was given CPR. 12. Restaurants are closed if they fail to maintain standards of. They close the restaurant if this restaurant fails to maintain the standard of what? Soapy, hygiene, bedding, or healthy. What's the meaning of bedding? Bedding is whatever is put on the bed, the covers. And then we have hygiene, means the cleanliness, النظافة العامة. So restaurants would be closed if something happens. What would happen? If they don't keep the what? Of course, it has to be the hygiene. My mom tells me to change the space on my bed once a week. I've just said it. So carpet, curtain, curtain means ستارة. Bedding or towel. Towel means فوطة. So what's the answer here? My mom tells me to change the, of course, whatever's on the bed, it has to be bedding. Very good. Moving to number 14. I can't stop sneezing. What's the meaning of sneeze? Sneeze means يعطس. So I can't stop sneezing because I have an space to pets. Allergy, allergic, hygiene, or hybrid. Let's dismiss some of the words and then we talk. So can I say here hybrid to pets? No. And hygiene means cleanliness. Again, it is not applicable here. So we have the two words allergy and allergic. Let's remember together the derivatives. So allergy, is it a verb, noun, or adjective? Allergy, here's the noun. What about allergic? Allergic is the adjective. So in this sentence, do I need the noun or the adjective? Let's read again. I can't stop sneezing because I have an space to pets. So here I need, of course, the noun. So I say I have an allergy to pets. And allergy in Arabic means حساسية. Number 15, protesters threw stones at the police who spaced with rubber bullets. Okay, protesters بيعملوا احتجاجات في الشارع. So protesters threw stones at the police who? The police did what? Mended. Mend means to fix. Took. Intend. Intend means to want to do something. Responded, to answer back. So what did the police do with rubber bullets? They shot at them rubber bullets. So of course it has to be responded. The boys helped the injured man because they knew first aid, danger, hygiene, emergency services. What did they know? They were able to help the injured. Injured means hurt. So because they knew danger, خطر, first aid, إسعافات أولية, hygiene, نظافة, or emergency service, السيرفيس بتاعت الطوارئ. So of course it has to be first aid, إسعافات أولية. Moving to another form of vocabulary words, let's have a look together. Number one, you can find information about anything you are in on the internet. Interested, fond, excited, interesting. Remember with the preposition in, what do I put? I can say fond, I can say excited. I can say interested and interesting. But here you are, I'm talking about myself. So I say interested in, not interesting. We can know or buy anything we like online with the space of on a button or of a button. So what do? I click, I hit, tape, or pressure. Of course, it's called click of a button or click on a button. ندوس, to click. Number three, you are wasteful. What is the space of having such an expensive car? He's asking. What is the what? Demerits. Demerits means disadvantages. Benefit. Benefit means advantages. Loss and uses. So what do I need to say here? He's telling me you're wasteful. What is the space of having such an expensive car? انت مهمل. ايه الفايدة ان احنا بنجيب او بتشتري عربية غالية? So what's the answer here? It has to be, of course, benefit, like importance or advantage. Number four, to operate this machine, just press this. To operate the machine, to make the machine move or start or work, you have to press this. Aid, aid means help, button, pressure, or hybrid. Of course, the answer here has to be button, زرار. We can easily, with our friends, through the internet. What can you easily do through the internet? Contact, communicate, keep touch. I can say contact with through the internet. So what do I have to say here? The only possible answer would be communicate with. We've taken that in the prepositions. The P in GPS stands for, I've said it before, positioning, position, positional or positions. What does it stand for, the P here in GPS? Of course it is positioning, global positioning system. Number seven, there are different types, models, species, inventions of hybrid cars. With the word cars, we say it a lot. What do I say? Do I say types, of course, or models of cars, or species, or inventions? Of course, it has to be models. GPS helps you to navigate, investigate, get or state your journey from one place to another. The word GPS has to be associated with what? Which verb? Of course, without thinking, it has to be navigate. Some cars use electrical, electricity, electronics to move. Here, what do I need to say? I need here the noun, okay? I don't need the adjective. So the only possible answer will be electricity, كهرباء. And some hybrid cars, they use both fuel and electricity. What qualities should you have to a good inventor? Make a good inventor, be, do, or invent. Of course, the answer here has to be what? Be a good inventor. Verb to be, related to who you are. I need an app which can help me with the space from one language to another. Before I show you the choices, when we change from one language to another, English to Arabic, what do we do all the time in the show? In each episode, what do I do? The end of the episode. So I have to translate, of course. So let's have a look. So here, education, translation, communication, and action. It has to be translation. On holidays, I always fun with my young children. So we've taken this before as an expression with the word fun. What do I say? Make fun, do fun, have fun, or give fun. And the answer has to be have fun. The problem with the reading paper, internet, or apps is that some of the information on it isn't true. ايه في دول information on it is not true. Of course, it has to be the internet. Old vehicles, software, GPS, technology can cause more pollution. Pollution means تلوث because their engines don't burn petrol well. So what from here causes pollution? Can I say software? Can I say GPS? Can I say technology? Of course not. So what I mean here, vehicles. And we said vehicles are cars, vans, lorries, anything that is on wheels. I say vehicles. And here, I don't say I don't pronounce the H, vehicles, as if it's not there. You should never share your space information online. With the word information, here I want an adjective because here I am describing information. So personally, person, personal, or post. It has to be, of course, personal information. شخصية. Criticism and advice. Criticism and نقد, advice when you advise someone to do something, are kinds of النقد and the advice, النصح, are kinds of what? Books, robots, philosophy, or feedback? Of course, it has to be the word feedback. So when you give someone your feedback, you tell him your opinion regarding something that he has done. He was praised for the great project he had. With a project, what do I say? I say made, make a project. On the other, we've taken it last episode. On the other space, we should be careful about what we do with our personal details. So what do I say? On the other face, help, part, or hand. Of course, it's on the other hand. And this is to say that there is another opinion or opposing opinion to what I have said before. A governess, worker, servant, or orphan is a woman who teaches children in their home. Remember, we've taken this with Jane Eyre when Jane went to help Adela Barnes. So she was a governess, a worker, a servant, or an orphan. She was, of course, a governess. So a governess is a teacher who stays at home and teaches rich children at their homes. A or an, servant, orphan, educated, employer is a child whose parents are dead. We've talked about this before in term 1 when we talked about Oliver Twist, remember? And Oliver Twist here was an, and David Copperfield also. So he was an orphan, is a child whose parents are dead. The company agreed, disagreed, objected, and praised strongly on our opinion. They all opposed it. Opposed. Oppose means they don't want it at all. So would they agree? Of course not. Object, praised, or disagreed. Here, object is okay, but I can say objected on. So it is wrong. So the only possible one that goes with the preposition on is disagreed. We say disagree, on. My brother applied a new job in a bank. He is going to be interviewed soon. So here, applied with apply, which preposition goes with it? Of course, it has to be for. So applied for a new job. The school in our town allows, offers, employs, develops more than 100 teachers. So what does the school do? So the school gives jobs to teachers. So which verb from these give me the meaning of to give a job? It has to be, of course, employs. And if you remember with me, the noun of it was employee and employer. The employer is the boss. The employee is the person who works in the company. Skills in STEM subjects. Remember the STEM subjects? I hope you remember what they are. The math and the science and technology and all that, and engineering, will help students to become the problem. So STEM subjects will help the students to become the problem. Employers, employees, solvers or senders, and inventors. Of course, we say problem solvers. By then, we're done with the vocabulary, most of it. If you were able to answer with me most of this means that you are on the right track. If not, then you have to go back to the episodes and revise again one more time. And now it's time for the language. Unit 7, we've covered the modal verbs. What were the modal verbs that we have covered? We've covered should, shouldn't, must, and mustn't. Let's look at the screen and remember together what each one does and how do we form it. So here we have should and shouldn't. Shouldn't is the negative, of course, of it. So we use should and shouldn't plus the infinitive for suggestions and advice. So we use should and shouldn't to make a suggestion and give advice. And we have to take care after should or shouldn't, the verb has to be in the infinitive. So you should play tennis, you will enjoy it. You shouldn't eat sweets, they are bad for your teeth. So take care, here we have play, verb only. Eat, verb only, infinitive. Nothing goes after them. Let's go to must and mustn't. So when do I use must and mustn't? I use must and mustn't plus the infinitive for a rule or a law. Rule, قاعدة, or a law, قانون. Warm invitations and strong advice. If you want to invite someone in a nice way, or if you want to give strong advice, not any kind of advice. Let's look at the example. You mustn't talk in the library. You must wash your hands before you eat. So here, mustn't talk, this is a rule. It's always written somewhere that you must not talk. You must come and have dinner with us. This is, what type is it? This is a strong advice or warm invitation. Of course, this is a warm invitation. He is inviting him in a nice way. All right, let's move to the next lesson, which was in Unit 8. We took the conditional. So which cases and types have we taken? We took the 3 types: zero conditional, first conditional, and second. Let's have a look together at what they are. So here the zero conditional. It is about statements and negative statements. Let's have a look here. So if, present simple, present simple. So I use if, the first part is present simple, the second part is present simple. And I need you to be careful. If or when come at the beginning of the sentence, I have to separate using a comma. If they come in the middle, we do not separate. So if I feel tired, I go to bed. So this is a habit. So we use the zero conditionals for habits and facts, something that does not change. And then when I am happy, I smile. So present simple, present simple. When he is happy, he doesn't smile. So here, this is the negative part. That's the first conditional. So here we use the zero conditional to describe facts and actions which are usually true. In these sentences, if equals when. This means it gives the exact same meaning. So if ice gets hot, it melts, or when ice gets hot, it melts. Both are the same. Now, let's have a look at the first conditionals. So when do I use the first conditional? Let's have a look here below. So we use the first conditional to talk about events that we think are possible or probable in the future. They might happen, I'm not sure. Like what? If you go to London, you will see red buses. So what's happening here? So the clause that goes with if, it has to be in the present simple, and then the other part of the sentence, the result, has to be in future will. So will plus the infinitive. So if present simple, will plus the infinitive. If you work hard, you will do well at school. And if you look here, the double L, apostrophe double L, this is the abbreviation. So both are correct. If you do not work hard, you will not or won't do very well. Again, won't is the negative form of the will not. You can say will not, you can say won't. Both are okay. Moving to the next one, which is the second conditional. So when do I use the second conditional? Let's have a look here. We use the second conditional to talk about events that are unlikely to happen. غير محتمل ان هي تحصل. The first conditional was probably, يمكن, محتمل. Here it is unlikely, it's not gonna happen, but you talk about it anyway. Like what? If he was or were rich, he would buy an aeroplane. لو هو غني هيشتري. Is it going to happen? Nobody knows. Most probably not. Let's have a look at the form of it. How do I form it? So I say if past simple. Here it's different. في الأول two cases we use the present simple. Here we use the past simple. So if past simple, and the other one will be would plus infinitive. And of course you know that would is the modal verb, the past of will. يبقى هنا we have if she was or were taller, she would be in the school team. If you did not work hard, you would not or wouldn't do very well. So if past simple, the other one would be would or wouldn't, and the infinitive. Now, the last lesson that we have taken 2 episodes ago, it was in Unit 9. It was the past perfect, the past simple, and the past simple passive. Let's have a look together. Here we have in front of us the past perfect. We've taken the past simple before, so we're going to revise it embedded in the lesson. Now let's have a look here. So here it says statements and negative statement. We use the past perfect to refer to an action or situation before the main verb in the past simple. Let's have a look here. This is my timeline. Okay, this is the past. So I have 2 actions happening in the past. Action that happened before the other one. So action 1 is in which tense? It is in the past perfect, and action 2 goes in the past simple. So let's have a look at what's written in front of us. So it is used to show which of 2 actions happened first. Okay, let's have a look at this. Jane was locked in the red room because she had had a fight. Where is action 1? Action 1, she had had a fight, and action 2, Jane was locked. So action 1, past perfect, action 2, past simple. And here we have to describe a situation before a past action. Jane left her aunt's house where she had lived for years. Again, what happened first? She had lived there for years, and then after that she left. We have many keywords, and we said the most prominent keywords are before, after, by the time, okay, and we have until and because. After, past perfect, after, before, past simple. If we don't want to learn them this way, just follow the tense. Just follow the action that happened first. Action 1, past perfect. Action 2, past simple. Let's revise together by answering some questions related. Let's see whether you're going to be able to do that on your own or not. Choose the correct answer. Kamal, his homework before he went to the cinema. So What's the answer here? Before he went to the cinema, what happened first? So finish happened first. So this has to be past perfect. So what's the past perfect here? Had finished, finished, was finishing, or would finish? Of course, the answer will be had finished. You make loud noise in the library or you will get into trouble. Here we have the modal verbs mustn't and shouldn't, must and should. So you loud noise in the library. Noise in the library. Is this advice or a rule? If it's a rule, we use must, of course. So what's the answer here? Of course, it has to be must or mustn't. You must make loud noise or you mustn't make loud noise. So mustn't. If Magda, a language course, she would easily speak to foreigners. Here I have if conditional. Let's go to the result and see which tense it is in. She would easily speak, would easily speak, would speak. This is what? If would speak, what's the first part that goes with if? It has to be past. Simple, of course. So if Magda did a language course, she would easily speak. If you have if conditional or when, go to the other part and see which tense it is so that you were able to understand which one to choose. What would you do if your friend an accident? Again, here we have would you do. So would do. This means that the other part of the if has to be in the past, of course. So what would you do if your friend had an accident? And I need you to take care of something. Have a look at 3 and 4. Let's have a look here. Here we started with if, right? So if we start with if, we have to separate the two sentences using a comma. What about number 4? What would you do if your friend? If here comes in the middle, do I need to separate with a comma? Nothing. I don't need commas here. So take care of this. Moving to number 5. When the alarm rings, we the building. When the alarm rings, the verb here when rings, and here we have when is like if. So if it's present simple, what do I do? When the alarm rings, we has to be leave. This is a fact. So when the alarm rings, you leave. Moving to number 6. A new school in our village last year. So here, what is this? A new school in our village last year. This is the object or the subject. Think about it. It has to be the object. This means that this sentence is in the active or the passive. It has to be in the passive. So what do I choose? It has to be verb to be, past participle. No thinking. So it has to be was built. Number 7, you drive a car without having a driver's license. It's against the law. ضد القانون. So if something is against the law, what do I have to choose? It has to be must or mustn't. So here you mustn't, of course, drive a car without having a driver's license. You wash your hands after working in the garden. You should, need, shouldn't, mustn't. Here, am I talking about a rule? It's not a rule, but it is something that you should do. It's advice. I'm giving you advice. So what do I choose? Should or shouldn't? Here, when you say you wash your hands, do I say you should wash your hands or you shouldn't wash your hands? It has to be, it has to be should. You should wash your hands. Moving to number 9. You eat food after it falls on the floor. الأكل وقع على الأرض. So what would happen? You should, must, shouldn't, mustn't. Again, I am giving you advice. This is not a rule. It's not a law. So what do I say? You shouldn't eat food after it falls on the floor. It's better. We have taken this form before. When I say it's better, after it's better, what do I put? It's better your keyboard frequently. Frequently means all the time, more than once. So clean, cleaning, to clean, to cleaning. So it's better. What do I say? I put after it's better. I say to plus the infinitive. So it's better to clean. When I finish my work on the computer, it off. So when I finish, when is like if, finish here is present. What do I use? Will switch, switch, switches, would switch. So here I will switch it off. Before to the airport, I had checked my passport. So here I have before, action 1, past perfect, action 2, past simple. What's the action that happened first? I had checked my passport. What are the choices? So before I leave to the airport, I had checked my password. The verb here is leave. Which action happened first? Check first and then leave after. So leave has to be in which tense? Past simple. So the answer has to be before I left to the airport, I had checked my passport. I wouldn't go out during the eclipse if you. هنا بقى دي this is improbable event. حاجة improbable مش هتحصل. اوكي unlikely to happen. يبقى unlikely to happen دايما بقول if I ايه. عندي هنا في was وفي were. بس انا في الايفنت او في السكند كونديشنال I use were without thinking. I don't use was. حتى لو he وشي وit حتى لو I say were. So if I were you. I out if it is stormy. So here it is stormy, present simple. So what do I use? Of course, it has to be will. So here we have negative. So what's the negative of will? It's will not or won't go. So I won't go out if it's stormy. Moving to number 15, hardly written. We have taken this before. This is in the past perfect, and we said that when we see this, we make an inversion. We make an inversion. We start with the verb. So hardly written the verb when she handed it to me. So hardly she had, did she, had she has. Here we understand that this has to be in the past perfect, and we have here written as the past participle, so we will choose had. Do I say hardly she had written or hardly had she written? Of course, it has to be hardly had she written. When with hardly, we have, if we start with hardly, we have to make an inversion. We start with the verb first and put the subject in the middle. My friend gave me the mobile until he had watched the video. Didn't give me, isn't give me, wasn't, and won't. Here he had watched. This is action 1 past perfect. Action 2 be past simple. What's the past simple here? Where's the negative of it? So it has to be, of course, didn't. After my friend, I realized that I forgot to give him the address. So what happened first? I invite or I forget? Of course, it has to be invite first, and then after that, you forgot that he did not do so and so. So here the answer has to be in the past perfect, and after we use past perfect. So it has to be what? Had invited. So after I had invited my friend, I realized that I forgot to give him the address. His clothes were dirty because his car by himself were dirty. What happened first? This action happened first. Mend means to fix. So it has to be in the past perfect. What is the choice that has the past perfect here? It has to be had mended. Another form of an exercise, here it says complete the text with the past simple or past perfect form of the verbs in brackets. So we have a passage here and we have some verbs between brackets. The only possible way for me to understand and how to answer this is to read very well and see which action happened first. Let's have a look together. Yesterday, Sally and Nancy, let's read first the verb without putting it in any form or in any tense. So yesterday, Sally and Nancy go to school by bus. Yesterday, an action that happened in the past and was finished in the past. So it has to be what? Past simple. What's the past simple of go? A regular verb, went. So Nancy went to school by bus. But the bus break down. Break down means to stop working. It is not moving anymore. So again, it is something that happened in the past and was finished in the past. So use past simple. What's the past simple of break? Again, it's an irregular verb. I can say braked. So what do I say? Broke. So the bus broke down. Let's read. When they finally arrive at school, the lessons start. Here I stop for a minute. Two actions happening in the past, one happening before the other one. And we have said together that here we have, this is the timeline. Action 1, action 2. So action 1 is past perfect. Action 2 past simple. So let's have a look what happened here. So here in front of us, we have when they finally arrive at school, the lessons start. Which action happened first? Of course, lesson start happened first, and then they arrive to school. So arrive would be past simple, and start would be past perfect. So when they finally arrived at school, the lessons had started. They be tired. Be is verb to be. Am is are in the present. Was were in the past. So they be tired because they walk more than 5 kilometers. So which action happened first? They become tired or they walk? They walk first and then after that they become tired. So walk, past perfect, become or be, past simple. So they, what's the past simple of verb to be here? They were tired because they had walked more than 5 kilometers. Sally asked the teacher for some extra help after the other students go to lunch. Which action happened first? The students go to lunch and then she asks. Okay, so what do I do? Go, past perfect, and then ask will be past simple. What's the past simple of ask? To be asked. Other students, what is the past perfect of this? How do I form it? Had plus past participle. What's the past participle of go? It has to be gone. So, had gone to lunch. By then, we are done with all the language. I hope you were with me. I hope you were able to answer. Now, let's go forward with the comprehension and the reading passage in front of you. Here it says read the following passage, then answer the question. Very important to read very well. We can read more than once, and you have to read more than once. The first time we skim the text. Skim means to find the overall idea, understand it, and then the second time we scan. Scan, what does it mean? To look for the answers. Go in depth. Now let's read together. Thomas Edison lit up the world with his invention of the electric bulb. Without him, the world might still be a dark place. He invented over 1,200 other things. There are two ways of reading this. Either I say 1,200 or I say 1,200. This is how it's pronounced. You choose whatever you want. Edison attended school for about 2 months. I don't want to tell you the meanings of words because I need you on your own to come up with the answers even if you don't know the meaning. Because you have to take the overall idea. مش لازم نفهم معنى كل كلمة. نفهم المجمل بتاع الباسج. His mother taught him a few things, but he was mostly self-educated. His natural curiosity led him, curiosity comes from the word curious, you want to know more, led him to start experimenting at a young age with electrical and mechanical things at home. He liked mechanical things. When he was 12 years old, he got his first job. He became a newsboy on a train. He set up a laboratory in a baggage car of the train so that he could continue his experiments in his spare time. Spare means free. He was fired when he accidentally set fire to the floor of the baggage car. However, he continued to conduct his experiments. Thomas Edison was totally deaf in one ear and hard of hearing in the other, but he thought of his deafness as a blessing in many ways. He called himself a two-shift man because he worked 16 out of 24 hours. He said that he was a two-shift man because he did more than one shift. Thomas Edison died and left numerous inventions that improved the quality of life all over the world. Now, let's see the questions in front of us, and if you don't know the answer, you return to the passage, read again, and then try to answer. Choose the correct answer from A, B, C, or D. Edison considered his deafness as advantage, disadvantage, blessing, necessity, or obstacle. Obstacle means عائق. Necessity, something that it is necessary. So he saw it as a blessing, of course. Number 2, Thomas Edison attended school for 2 weeks, 2 years, 60 days, 16 days. What is 60 days? So they were 2 months, and the month is, they said 2 months, and the month is 30 days. So 60 days. It's a trick. What is Edison's most important invention mentioned? What's the most important invention here? Electric car, TV, watch, or electric light? So it was, of course, the electric light. Edison lost his first job because what has he done? Was lazy, set fire to the floor of the baggage car, was mad, set fire in his invention. It is, of course, set fire to the floor of the baggage car, and it was accidental. He did not mean to do that. Thomas Edison could hardly means so little. So he could hardly speak, listen, hear, or sleep. We said that he was deaf, so he couldn't hear. But for Edison, the world would be, without his inventions, dark, bright, crystal, or smooth. Without inventing the light bulb, the world would be what? Of course, it has to be dark. The underlined word accidentally means by mistake, on purpose, by chance, or in time. Of course, the word accidentally comes from the word accident, which means that it is unintentional, which means it is by mistake. So, if we want to answer reading passage, you read very well, you skim the first time for just the overall idea. Second time, read the questions and start scanning, looking for the answers. Another branch that we always cover is Treasure Island. Let's have a look together. So, the summary of chapter 7, 8, 9. Let's go through the summary real quick before we start answering some questions. Captain Smollett and his men stayed in the fort to protect themselves from the pirates on the island. They decided to stay there. The pirates took control of the Hispaniola and raised the pirate flag. Silver, Long John Silver, went to the fort with a white flag asking for a truce. Truce in Arabic means hudna, which was a trick to take the map to the treasure. Of course, he did not want any kind of truce. He went to Captain Smollett trying to make him open the door and give him the map. Silver asks Smollett to give him the map in exchange of what? Taking everybody safely on the ship back home. Give me the map, I will take you all back home. Then he threatens to attack the fort if they refuse to give him the map. Smollett decides to stay in the fort as they have an advantage. Why do they have an advantage? Because nobody can enter the fort and they are well protected inside. Silver then attacks the fort many times. He starts attacking. This results in the death of some pirates and the injury of Captain Smollett. If you remember with me, he was injured, but they said if he rests, he's going to be fine. One day, the doctor takes the map and leaves the fort. So, Dr. Livesey decides to leave the fort. He takes the map with him. Nobody knows where he has gone. They say maybe he went to find Ben Gunn. They were not sure what was happening. Jim also takes a gun and goes down the east of the island. He decides to find Ben Gunn's boat. So both of them leave. First Dr. Livesey and then after that Jim. The weather became better. Jim found Ben's boat. He saw the ship and Silver talking to his men in a boat. He found out that John Silver was not on the Hispaniola. He was inside a small boat talking to his men. This was a good opportunity for him to try to go to the Hispaniola and cut the rope to the anchor to make the Hispaniola drift away from the pirates. He had a plan to go to the ship in the dark and cut the rope to the anchor. The boat was difficult to steer, but the wind helped him. He cut the rope and heard some pirates fighting. The wind took the boat into a large wave. He realized that his life was in danger. He cannot steer the boat anymore. The waves were really high. He did not have an oar. It was very dangerous for him, but there is nothing he could do. But there was nothing Jim could do. Jim saw the Hispaniola. He wanted to get onto the ship. Later on, if you remember with me, the boat gets washed away and he survives and everything becomes good again. And then he decides to go to the Hispaniola. When he learns that nobody's there on it, he decides to go in order to try to take control over the ship and return it to Captain Smollett. So Jim saw the Hispaniola. He wanted to get onto the ship and try to return it to Captain Smollett. He saw Hans, one of the pirates who was wounded. Remember last episode, we've talked about this. Hans was one of the pirates. He was fighting with another pirate whom he killed, and he got injured in the process. Hans agreed to help Jim take the ship to the north if Jim gave him some food and drink and helped him with his wound. Hans was really clever. He needed someone to help him and Jim needed help too. So he decided to help him on one condition: you help me out with my wound and give me food and drink. So Hans helped Jim sail the ship and stop it without an anchor. So there was no anchor to the ship, if you remember with me. There was no anchor whatsoever. So he knew how to sail and even dock the ship without this anchor. So this is how he helped him. Jim knew Hans was not honest and was planning something. And if you remember with me, what was he planning? He hid what under his clothes? He hid a knife which he used later. So Hans hid a knife and attacked Jim, who quickly climbed the mast of the ship. Hans was able to wound Jim in the shoulder, but Jim fired at Hans, who fell in the sea. Both of them injured each other, but the injury of Jim was not severe. He was going to be okay. It was just came through the flesh and that's it. Luckily, the knife went through a small piece of Jim's skin. Jim took it out, found a bandage for the wound, put down most of the sails and jumped into the shallow water, leaving the ship half on the beach and half in the water. So this is the summary, the brief summary of the 3 chapters that we have covered so far. Now, let's answer some questions. Let's go to the board. Let's have a look at the questions together and how we could answer them. Jim wasn't afraid of the pirates on the ship. Do you agree and why? So he wasn't afraid. Do you agree with this and why? Remember, you have to mention your reason. Of course, we do agree he was not afraid. So why was that? Because he fought back. So he wasn't afraid of the pirate because he was brave and adventurous. He fought them bravely and was able to fire a gun at him. So he fought Hans and he even fired a gun and was able to kill him and get him to fall into the sea. So why did Jim steer the ship to the beach? Why did he take the ship to the beach? Why? We've mentioned that before. So he did that because he wanted to take the ship away from the pirates and return it to Captain Smollett. So he took it to the north of the island so that the pirates would never find the ship there. From your point of view, من وجهة نظرك, why did Captain Smollett give the crew jobs to do in the fort? Remember when they were inside the fort in chapter 7, he gave them jobs to do. Why did he do that? He wanted to distract them from thinking about the danger that they were in. كان عايز يشتت تفكيرهم من الخطر اللي هم كانوا فيه. So he wanted to make them busy so that they don't think about the pirates and that their life was in danger. How did Jim escape from Hans? What happened to him? ازاي هرب from Hans and what happened to him? And we've all known this together. Last episode we've talked about all this encounter of Hans and Jim together. So what did they do? What did Jim do? How did he escape? So when he took the knife and ran at him, remember Jim was very quick, so he was able to climb the mast, okay, over the sails of the ship, and he was able to stay away from Hans. So he quickly climbed onto the mast of the ship but was wounded by Hans' knife. Hans threw the knife at him. It pierced his shoulder, but he was going to be okay. It was a superficial wound. It was not something serious. Why do you think Captain Smollett asked his men to watch Silver closely? Remember when Silver came in the fort, Captain Smollett told his men to watch him closely. Why? Because he was not dangerous? Because he was good? Of course not. He was very dangerous. So he wanted them to watch him carefully because he knew that Silver wasn't to be trusted. He came in truce and he came with a white flag and I don't want any harm, but of course he was lying, he was pretending. So he only cared about getting the treasure map. That's why he wanted them to watch him closely. Did Captain Smollett accept Silver's offer and why? What was the offer? Silver told him, I will give you an offer in exchange for the map. If you give me the map, I will take all your men and yourself to the Hispaniola and safely home. On one condition, deliver the map. So did he agree? Of course he didn't. Why? So he didn't accept the offer because he knew that Silver would have killed them the moment he had the map. So he was 100% sure that Silver was a pirate. He was a bad man. He was really evil. He was pretending. And the moment he took the map, he was going to kill everybody. That's why he did not trust him. I put the small boat into the water and began my journey to the ship. Who did that and why? Huh? I want you to tell me who said that. I put the small boat in the water and began my journey. Of course, it had to be Jim. Why did he do that? He did that twice. The first time because he wanted to cut the rope to the anchor of the Hispaniola, and the second time because he wanted to take control over the ship. So Jim did that when he saw the Hispaniola at first. He decided to go and cut the rope to the anchor. That's the first time. Then later, when he thought that no one was on the ship, he wanted to climb on board and take control of the ship and return it to Captain Smollett. Who did he find when he did that? He found Hans fighting with the other pirate. I don't think you can sail this ship. So if you give me food and drink and help me with my wound, I'll help you. Did he really help? What happened to both characters? So first, who said that? Of course, it was Hans the pirate. And he said this to who? He said this to Jim. So what is the question? Did he really help him? Yes, he did, of course. Remember, he told him, help me out with the food and my wound, and I'm going to help you steer the ship and even dock the ship without an anchor. And this is exactly what he did. He showed Jim how to do that. What happened to both characters? I wish you could tell me. So both of them got injured. Hans had a knife which he threw at Jim when Jim ran quickly and climbed the mast of the ship, and Jim was able to shoot Hans by the gun that he had. Hans helped Jim to sail the ship and dock without an anchor. At the end of chapter 9, Hans was shot by Jim's gun and fell into the sea, and Jim was injured by Hans' knife. How did Jim get to the Hispaniola? How did he go there? He had a what? He had a boat. So he sailed to the ship in Ben Gunn's boat. So he took Ben Gunn's boat when he went out of the fort to find it, and then later on, as I told you, he was able to go to the Hispaniola, hold on the rope, and climb the ship. Where did Hans and Jim sail the Hispaniola to and why? So Jim wanted to sail the Hispaniola somewhere. Where was it and why? So they sailed the ship to the north of the island to stay away from the pirates and hide it from them, because they would never guess that the ship was being kept there. Also, Mr. Hans, we can't have this flag on the ship. What flag did Jim mean? Why did he want to take it down from the ship? So remember, when they took control over the ship, what happened? They raised the flag of the pirates, and this tells everybody that this ship now belongs to the pirates. So Jim wanted to take down the flag. Why? Because he wanted to show Captain Smollett and the rest of the people that this ship did not belong to the pirates anymore, and he was the one who was controlling it. So Jim was talking about the pirates' flag on the ship. He wanted to take it down so Captain Smollett knows that the pirates are no longer controlling the ship. How was Jim saved after the Hispaniola hit his boat? Remember I told you. Let's have a look. He found a small rope hanging which he held onto and was able to climb to the ship or the boat. What did Hans plan to do with Jim? What did he plan to do with Jim? Remember when Jim pretended to get the water and the food, he hid and he heard and saw Hans. So what was happening? So he planned to kill Jim. How? He took a knife and hid it. Then when Jim went on deck, he was able to hit him in his shoulders. Now, to take you to the last part of our episode today is always the translation. And the first part we're going to do together is translate from Arabic to English. Let's have a look together. So let's read the Arabic part first before we can translate. So here it says what? من الصعب زيارة العديد من الأماكن في مصر لأنها معزولة وبعيدة جدا، لذا يجب توفير وسائل نقل آمنة للوصول إلى هناك أو بناء فنادق قريبة منه. Okay? So let's have a look at the translation of the English. Let's read the first one. It is difficult to visit many places in Egypt. من الصعب زيارة العديد من الأماكن في مصر. So far so good. As they are isolating. هنا معزولة. معزولة here is an adjective. So if it's an adjective, do I say isolating? I need to say isolated. So here, isolating is the wrong answer. Dismiss number 1. Let's move to number 2. It is difficult to visit many places in Egypt as they are isolated. So far so good. And very distant. So here, بعيدة جدا. So here I cannot say very distance. I have to say very distant. So again, this is wrong. Dismiss number 2. Move to number 3. It is difficult to visit many places in Egypt as they are isolated and very distant. لأنها معزولة وبعيدة جدا. So far so good. Thus, لذا, we must improve safe means of transport. تعالوا نبص على العربي هنا. يجب توفير is improve the same meaning as توفير. It is not right. Improve means يحسن. So again, this is not the right answer. Let's move to number 4. Read all of it before you decide it's the right answer. It is difficult to visit many places in Egypt as they are isolated and very distant. So far so good. Right. Thus, we must provide safe means of transport. يجب توفير وسائل نقل آمنة. So far so good. للوصول إلى هناك أو بناء فنادق قريبة منه. So to reach there or build nearby hotels. So this is exactly like that. So what's the correct answer here? The correct answer here is going to be C, 4. So it is difficult to visit many places in Egypt as they are isolated and very distant. Thus, we must provide safe means of transport to reach there or build nearby hotels. Now, let's go to the next part. Translate from English to Arabic. Let's read the English first. Without motivation in life, it is hard to strive for success and achieve internal happiness. You should try to achieve more success for yourself first before trying to please other people. What does that mean? Let's have a look at the Arabic and then decide which one is going to be correct. So here it says, without motivation in life. Motivation, the word motivation means دافع. And then without means بدون. يبقى بدون الدافع في الحياة. It is hard من الصعب, okay, to strive for success. Strive here يسعى أو يطمح. Okay, for success, نجاح. Achieve, يحقق. Internal happiness, السعادة الداخلية. You should try, يجب عليك المحاولة to achieve, تحقيق أو الحصول على. More success, المزيد من النجاح لنفسك الأول before trying to please other people. Now, let's have a look at the first one. بدون مشاكل في الحياة. I have here the word مشاكل. Is مشاكل motivation? It's not motivation, so this is the wrong answer. So I dismiss number 1. Let's go to number 2. بدون الدافع في الحياة. Without motivation in life. So far so good. يصعب السعي للنجاح. Okay, so it's hard to strive for success. تحقيق السعادة الداخلية. Achieve internal happiness. So far, so good. So, the second part says you should try to achieve more success for yourself before trying to please other people. يبقى هنقول هنا يجب أن تحاول تحقيق المزيد من النجاح لنفسك أولاً قبل محاولة إرضاء الآخرين. So, this seems correct completely. So far, all of this is correct. Do I stop? Don't stop. Let's read the rest. بدون الدافع في الحياة, same. يسهل السعي لتحقيق النجاح. Here it says it's hard. So here يسهل is wrong. Dismiss number 3. Let's move to the last one. بدون الدافع في الحياة يصعب السعي لتحقيق النجاح وتحقيق السعادة الداخلية. هنا تحقيق النجاح. I don't need تحقيق 2 times. So this is wrong and there is something else wrong. Let's continue. يجب أن تحاول على النجاح لنفسك. This is not the right form. Here it says you should try to achieve الحصول أو تحقيق نجاح أكثر. Okay? أو المزيد من النجاح. So all of this is not right. So again, this is the wrong answer. So just as we decided that number 2 is the correct answer, it turned out to be really the correct one. Now let's read the English and the Arabic for one last time. Without motivation in life, it is hard to strive for success and achieve internal happiness. You should try to achieve more success for yourself first before trying to please other people. The Arabic is بدون الدافع في الحياة يصعب السعي للنجاح وتحقيق السعادة الداخلية. يجب أن تحاول تحقيق المزيد من النجاح لنفسك أولاً قبل محاولة إرضاء الآخرين. By then we have covered all the branches that we usually take in the 3 units that we have covered from the beginning of term 2, units 7, 8 and 9. And I'm going to see you next week with a new episode and a new unit. Thank you so much for joining.